Welcome back to Three Times a Victim. I'm Sarah, here again with Marcus. Last episode, we ended with Bruce's coerced plea deal, a moment that was supposed to end his nightmare but instead trapped him in a different kind of prison.
That plea marked the end of Section 3 and the start of Section 4, the aftermath. Bruce walks out of court technically free, but carrying the label of a felon. Chapters 17 and 18 show that freedom doesn't always mean release.
The irony is unbearable. Bruce never agreed that he was guilty. He simply repeated the words his lawyer told him to say, under threat of a decade in prison. Yet, from that day forward, the system and society both treated him as if he had confessed willingly.
And that false perception becomes its own punishment. In Chapter 17, we see Bruce trying to rebuild a life while living under probation. Every job application, every apartment search, every attempt to re-enter the world is shadowed by one question on a form. Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
For most people, a signature on a line means closure. For Bruce, it meant permanent exile. Even as he tried to comply with every rule, reporting to his probation officer, avoiding any violation, the real sentence was stigma.
What's haunting is how he describes daily existence during this period. I carried an invisible sign announcing my guilt, he writes. The world saw the label before they saw the person.
And the emotional toll deepens. The trauma from the assault, the betrayal by the justice system, the abandonment by family, it all merges into what he calls toxic shame. Not just the shame of what others think he did, but the corrosive belief that he no longer deserves belonging.
Yet what stands out is that he keeps trying. He seeks work, reaches out for stability, even explores re-entering the helping professions in some form. But doors keep closing. Background checks erase any chance before he can even speak.
Chapter 18 pushes that reality further. We see Bruce moving through a world that constantly reminds him he's been redefined by someone else's lie. He notes how every attempt at self-advocacy triggers suspicion, as if defending himself becomes proof of guilt.
There's a chilling parallel here to earlier chapters. When Bruce was a therapist, he helped clients shed shame that didn't belong to them. Now he's forced to live inside that very dynamic. Accused, silenced, misunderstood.
The way he describes social isolation is devastating. I became a ghost among the living. Friends vanished. Professional colleagues stopped responding. Even small human interactions felt dangerous, as though any misunderstanding could destroy him again.
And the law wasn't done with him. The plea deal may have ended the criminal case, but it began years of bureaucratic surveillance, probation visits, financial penalties, restrictions on travel. Freedom became a performance constantly monitored by the same system that failed to protect him.
There's also the psychological aftermath. Bruce's writing shows how trauma rewires perception, hypervigilance, distrust, fear of authority. Every knock on the door could mean disaster. That's not paranoia. That's lived experience after being punished for calling 911.
Exactly. These chapters reveal the long shadow of coerced pleas, how they perpetuate injustice, even outside the prison walls. He wasn't behind bars anymore, but he was still serving time in the court of public opinion.
What's remarkable is that Bruce keeps documenting, reflecting, writing, almost as if the act of telling the truth is his only form of self-defense. These chapters feel like both testimony and survival strategy.
And that connects directly to the title of the section, Living Under the Shadow. The shadow isn't just the criminal record. It's the emotional residue of being unheard. He's still the same gentle, nonviolent person, yet society insists on casting him in a role that never fit.
Reading this, I couldn't help thinking about the earlier chapters where Bruce's empathy defined him. His vow as a child never to cause harm, his years helping trauma survivors. That identity hasn't vanished. It's buried under the weight of other people's disbelief.
The system forced him into silence, but silence isn't the same as acceptance. These chapters show that even without optimism, there's endurance, the quiet resilience of someone who refuses to let a false narrative become his truth.
And maybe that's the hardest kind of resilience. Not triumphant or inspiring, but necessary. The kind that gets you through another day of being misunderstood.
We're left with the image of a man walking through life with invisible wounds, still trying to serve others, still hoping someone will finally look past the label.
Next time, we'll continue into chapters 19 and 20, exploring how the long-term consequences of this injustice deepen and how Bruce's search for meaning continues even as society keeps turning away.
For now, this has been Sarah and Marcus discussing 3 Times a Victim by Bruce Whealton.
Thanks for listening, and for bearing witness to a story that refuses to disappear.